So the first problem is that the filler neck that comes on the truck has a baffle in it. In here, this is a solid metal pipe, and in here there's a baffle so that you cannot run a piece of plastic tubing down in here through this and into the filler neck of the tank, which goes over here. So that you can't put a tube in there to siphon gasoline out. That's, I don't know what the hell, it's an anti-theft thing, it's a safety, I don't know what they do it for, but they've done it. So there is that keeps you from doing that. So what I ended up doing is, this comes from the factory with this hose clamp up on top where you can't get to it, so it's very close to the bed of the truck. So I managed to get I have a ratcheting 8mm box wrench, and I got it on this. This is a 5/16, but 8mm seemed to fit, and I got it loose enough so that I could rotate this clamp and get it, and then put a 5/16 on here and move this clamp the hell out of the way. Then, because this filler neck had been on this metal tube for so long, it created a problem. So I ended up putting a hook in here in the end and trying to separate that way. And ultimately, I got a screwdriver in this way between the metal tube and the rubber thing, and I worked it all the way around, and finally this thing gave up. So once that was out of the way, then I could force this tube out of the way. So at least now I've got the tube out of the way, but that's just the beginning. So now, here's the tank. You can see the remnants of gasoline that was on the tank. This is the charcoal filter. Whoops, sorry. This is the charcoal filter, charcoal canister, and there's two connections here that I'm going to fight with here. There's one here. This runs up, it goes up to the top of the tank someplace, so this has to be separated. And then, let's see, then this one up top here also has to be separated, so I got to figure out how to do that. Those are the two there. So let me, once I get that, I'll show you what I did. This is the clip on the lower portion of the charcoal canister. So the way that this is supposed to work is if you squeeze these outside tabs like this, those two little ears inside here are supposed to lift up. They don't quite make it, so you have to squeeze like that, and then you have to get a pick or something in alongside those things just to lift them past the lip on the side of the canister, and then it will just slip off like that. Okay, and then up above, oops, where is it? There, you can see, let me get some light up there. You can see those blue tabs. You squeeze those two tabs in. They're kind of precariously placed, but you squeeze those two blue tabs in toward the center, and then that will also slip right off. Okay, what I managed to do with that connector up there, whoops, how can I get a focus here? Yeah, it's kind of, sorry. All right, let me see if I can get it from this side. All right, what I ended up doing is I could reach up there with a hand and grab a hold of one of those tabs with my fingers from the top this way, and then I reached up with a screwdriver from the underside this way, and I squeezed in the other tab, and that allowed this to, put a little pressure on here with my finger on here, pulled back, and with the screwdriver and using the other hand, I could get back in here and get this thing pulled back so that it would come off. All right, I don't know if I got that or not, but I ended up reaching over the top with one finger like this and squeezing that tab, and then reaching up with a screwdriver from underneath to get this other tab here, and using this hand I pulled this connector back off of the tube there. This vent hose, it also goes up to the filler neck up there. The clamp that goes on here is slightly smaller than the clamp for the hose itself. So this takes a 1/4 inch socket. The hose for the vent, the actual vent tube, the big tube, is a 5/16. Okay, so there are 2 straps that hold the tank in. My tank has I don't know, a little less than a half a tank, maybe, well, I don't know, closer to a 1/4 probably, between half and a quarter. So the strap is here. That little T locks into a slot over here, and just wraps across here, goes up here, and then there's one 15 millimeter bolt that comes out. The head of the bolt is 15 millimeters. I don't know what size this is, but anyway, that one's got a little crudulum on it, little rust. But anyway, that came out very easily. I was surprised. And then there's the similar thing to the back. So I'm holding this. I'm not sure if the tank is just going to come flopping down here or not, but regardless, I'm going to lower it down and see if I can't pump the remaining gas out of it. So what I did is I just took this is an old hydraulic floor jack that I have that I'm just got sitting here, that's putting a little bit of pressure on the tank. You can see there's not a great deal up here. And this is the maximum lift. So I've got my jack stands from another project underneath the truck, and everybody's saying, "Oh my God, the thing's going to roll over you." No, it's not going anyplace. I've got it blocked in the front also, so it shouldn't be able to. I'm not lifting the truck, I'm just dropping the gas tank. Anyway, so I'm going to take out that back strap and see if I can't lower this tank, and then see what where the leak is coming from. Okay, so this one wasn't so easy. Here's the strap that holds the tank in, and the bolt goes up. There's a 15 millimeter bolt. Oops, let me get down a little lower. Oops. Okay, that's the bolt that holds the thing in, and unfortunately, typically what happens is there's a clip that holds the nut, and they put that on the frame during the assembly, and then they just screw the thing in. Well, that clip goes bad. It rots, it rusts, whatever. This truck spent a good part of its life in West Virginia. Not a lot of rust, but it does have enough. And that clip is very skinny. So what happens is the portion of the clip that holds the thing in place rots away, and it leaves the bolt or the nut on top of the bolt, and that's up inside the frame. You can't get to it unless the tank is out, and you can't get the tank out unless the bolt is off. So what I ended up doing is I cut the head of the bolt off with a grinder, and I'm going to push the bolt up, and I'll put a new bolt on there, and that bolt will come up into this tube, which is part of the frame, runs through there, and I'll put a nut inside this tube, which will hold a new strap in when it goes back into the truck. So whoops, that's my fix for this really annoying problem. And I mean, I've been doing all kinds of stuff. I put pressure on it with a bar, a pry bar to hold the pressure against the strap, and hoping that the bolt would stick, and it doesn't, and it doesn't. There's actually, I don't have a welder, But there's a couple of good videos online. I'll see if I can find them and put links to them that show you how, if you run into this problem, and you can, if you have a hole in the frame, which there is no hole over, oh, there's a hole back over here, but this is not anywhere close to where you need it over here. But anyway, he shows you how you can get around these problems in a different way. But I'll put that link in there anyway, because if you run into this problem, it's a good fix. So anyway, so that's my thing. Later when I'm putting it back together, I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I got the tank. It's on a jack and it's still got gasoline in it, but this is the top of the tank, and I have to disconnect 5 of these connections. There's 3 tubes and 2 electrical, one for the motor and one for the sending unit, I think. So that's the next step in it. There's not a lot of room up here to work on. There's the filler tube over there that was disconnected, went over the top of the frame rail, and there's where the filler is on the side. And these don't make it very easy to figure out how each of these damn things comes apart, honest to goodness. So all right, I'm going to have to do this with one hand and come back to you. Okay, so this connector here, this green tab has little feeties on the bottom of it. You got to squeeze those just a little bit to get it started, and once you get past those little feeties, then you can get a screwdriver or something to pull this green sleeve up to this point, and then it'll slide right off. That green thing is what retains it on the end of that nozzle. This electrical connector over here, if you pull this plug thing out of the back of the connector, that allows you to push down on this, and then you can give this a little wiggle, and this one will come out. Put that back in so you don't lose it, because that's the lock. You get the back of that little piece out of there. Then you just give this a little wiggle and this comes out. Same thing here. This one, you press down on the top of this back tab and just give it a little wiggle back and forth, and that one comes out. So that takes care of 1, 2, 3. And then I'm working on the other 2. So I'll be back to you in a minute. This one, oops, oh man, this is tight in here, holy crow. All right, I can't point to it, but this one operates similar to the one that's on the evap cylinder. You squeeze the 2 tabs from the sides, and you might need a little bit of help to get it past that ramp on the top edge there, but and once you get that done, you can just slide that off of there also. The one that I'm really concerned about is that one over there. That's the high pressure. That's the one that comes from the pump and goes out to the engine. And I'm kind of quizzical as to how that's to be released. I think might require a special tool. I'm not exactly sure right now. So whatever. I'll deal with that in a few minutes. Now that we're looking at this, you can see a little bit more how these things go together. The the two electrical connectors. This one has a little wedge that goes in the top. This one, you just press on the thing. Here's the thing that catches. You press on the top and you wiggle it out. That takes care of those. This you push on the little feeties, which are down at the bottom here, to try to bring those in a little bit. And then you get a screwdriver or something underneath here to lift this up, and it slides right out. This one takes, you can see those two little one-way things. So when you put it on, it grabs a hold of the flange here. I'm making a correction. Now that I have this connector out of the truck and I can see it, if you grab a hold of these tabs way out here on the far edge, you can see how it lifts those two little rampy type teeth out of the way, and then you can slide this straight off like that. I was trying to squeeze it up here at the other end, so keep that in mind. That's the connection. Grab them out here at the outside edge, and it slides right off. And doesn't let it come back out. So I took two little screwdrivers and stuck them in here and here, because you're supposed to be able to do this, but it takes a lot of strength in your fingers. And I tried it with a pair of pliers, and it just seemed to crush everything. So anyway, I ended up putting a little tiny screwdriver here and a little tiny screwdriver there, and it was enough to get that thing back up to where it needed to go. So okay, so when the stuff comes in, I guess I'll just finish this video and we'll see how that goes. I don't know if my camera went off, so I'm not sure if I got it or not, but just again to mention, there are 3 baffles. I tried to get the gasoline out of here. I still have quite a bit of gas in this tank, and tomorrow or the next time that I have this pump out, I'm going to empty the tank, put it into 5-gallon jugs, and then I'll put it back in once the tank's in place, because it makes it a lot easier when this thing is light. This is about 100 pounds now. There's a baffle in there about 6 inches in, and the filler. There's another baffle, and this is the hose that runs from the filler neck to the top of the tank here. So there's another baffle in here. It looks like a snake that swallowed an egg. And then there's another baffle or a flapper or some sort of a valve in here also. So it's absolutely impossible to drain that tank from with any kind of siphon. So anyway, somehow I managed to lose some of the video yesterday about the final thing, but I pulled the tank out, finally dropped it down. There's still gasoline in it. I pulled the tank out, and I put it up on. I'm going to ultimately empty the tank, because I can now get the pump out. But I wanted to talk about the reason that I went through this whole exercise was because of this. This is the high pressure gas feed line. So this is, the pump comes on, the gas comes out of here, goes through this hose up to your engine. This connection is the high pressure connection. This is what runs to your engine. And this had rusted to the point where it was, when the engine was running, I had gasoline leaking out of here onto the top of the tank, and it was dripping down into the rock guard, which was down underneath this, and then dripping onto the ground underneath. And I was actually losing a lot of gas. I mean, couldn't understand why the tank was emptying so quickly, but that's what was happening. Anyway, so it was because of the rust here was leaking out. When I was underneath the truck, I broke this one off, and the way that this connection works is that there are 4 little one-way teeth in there, so that when you insert the nozzle, which looks like this over here, into this thing, those 4 little teeth grab a hold of it, and it won't allow it to come back out again. So there's a special tool that you can get from GM or whatever that compresses those 4 teeth all at once to allow you to pull this back out. But there was no saving this. when I looked very closely in there, I tried to get this out a number of different ways, but it didn't work. Those little teeth were rusted to the tube here. So anyway, I ordered this line from General Motors. It's about $100, which is crazy, but the one that I got was about 45 or whatever. It's an aftermarket, same configuration, and it'll connect up here. But the other thing that when I was underneath the truck and I couldn't see really, I wasn't really thinking about where stuff went because I only had 6 or 8 inches. The truck bed was sort of up here, and then I only had this much space to work with. I wasn't thinking about where these things ran. You don't have to take these off while you're underneath the vehicle. You only have to take the electric off, that's all. And I also had taken this off, again, because I couldn't see anything, but this never actually has to come off. So then when I finally got it out here and got this set up on sawhorses, so that I can get this thing done, this ring, which locks in the pump into the housing, was completely rusted. So I took a rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat gun, a pneumatic gun, and I hit this all around to try to break the seal between the pump and the ring. This ring rotates to lock that thing in. So anyway, I tried to do that. I painted this thing up with PB Blaster, WD-40 I tried, and then with a punch, you can see how I've damaged the edges here. But with a punch, I hit all the way around, and it still would not break loose. And I worked on it for a long time trying to get it out. I watched some other guy make tools with a piece of rebar, and that went down into some groove over here, and another piece on the other side and he welded this whole thing up in order to do it. But ultimately, how I got this ring off, aside from pounding it and knocking it and pounding it, is I got a screwdriver up in underneath between the ring and the pump in different locations, and I just worked it till I got that rust weld broken loose, and then I was able to tap this thing. Once it was hit, the bond had broken between those two things. Then I used a punch just to drive this thing and unlock it. So this ring, I'm going to discard it. I bent it up a little bit, but the ring. The replacement and aftermarket ring was like, I don't know, $15 or so, maybe 20. So I ordered one of those. So I got one of these coming, should be here today, and I got one of these coming, this aftermarket hose, which should be coming today also. I have the pump. I'm going to the pump now is free. Whoops. And you can actually take it out of there. There's springs in the thing in order to keep that down on the bottom of the tank. Because I have access now into the tank, I'm going to use that in order to siphon the balance of the gasoline out of the tank, because each gallon of gas weighs about 8 pounds. So if I've got, I don't know, 12 gallons or so in here, that's 100 pounds worth of weight. So I'm going to try to get that out of here and putting the tank in, make it as easy for myself as possible, because I'll tell you, this whole project was a little bit more than I was anticipating. So it's not hard. It's just that all this corrosion and and the tightness of the work to get in there and all that stuff is what makes it so difficult. So anyway, that's where I am, and I'll do the rest of it in the near future. When the parts come in, I'm going to put it all back together. So it's kind of windy out here today, but and I put this in yesterday. There's nothing special about this. The two things that I ordered that came yesterday were this ring and this line, which then connects underneath the truck when I put the tank back in. This is a high pressure line. This is the one that supplies gas to the engine, and these are vent lines of some kind. The only thing that I'll tell you is I had an issue with fitting this new pump, into the pocket, which is close fit on the top of the tank. There's just the plastic ring, which is all part of that, and then this metal ring with these teeth are part of the tank assembly. but this wouldn't fit. It was just that tight. So I took a pair of calipers and I measured the tank diameter and measured the outside diameter of the pump, because it would go in, but it wouldn't. There's springs and stuff down underneath that keep the bottom mechanism. I'll show that to you in a second from the old one. That wouldn't allow it to seat, get down to where it is now to allow the ring to go on and lock. And these are like little ramps that just lock in. You can see here the how that locks into the slides in that way. Anyway, so I ended up taking I emptied the tank out. I siphoned all the gas out of the tank, and then I wiped the bottom. There's no dirt in there. It's all nice and clean and dry. So the tank is relatively light now. I mean, it just weighs whatever the plastic is, the weight of like 3 buckets. And I ended up taking a razor knife, a utility knife, and going around the outside edge just ever so lightly where there was like a little tiny lip, and that managed to be just enough in order to fit the pump in, and then you slip the ring on over the top and you rotate it. So that's that. I'll show you the guts from underneath the thing with the old one. Just give me a second here. All right, this is the pump that came out of there. You can see how damaged this is from corrosion, which kind of surprised me because this truck was supposed to have been from like West Virginia, and I didn't think they used a lot of salt on the roads in West Virginia for their relatively mild winters. But this tube is what caused this whole problem. It actually rotted around here and allowed a gasoline leak. So when you put this into the tank, you press this whole mechanism down in, and this ring up at the top seats on the top of the tank. And that's the problem that I had, is the diameter of this right here on that pump was just a little tiny bit, like, I mean, a few thousandths bigger, and I just smoothed that out and then cleaned out the debris from the trim. And as you pull this out, you bring it up out of the tank, this diameter down here also fits through that opening. And when you get to the very bottom of it, this is your level indicator here. It runs a little, I don't know, potentiometer or rheostat or something in here, and that gives you indication when the tank is full, this goes up. When the tank is empty, this goes down. So that's what you have to just be careful about, all the wiring here. And it's the same thing underneath there. So that's it. That has a set of springs similar to this. And I'm hoping that's an aftermarket pump. So that was relatively inexpensive, maybe in the neighborhood of $80 or $90 maybe. And the GM pumps are $200. So anyway, but that pretty much sums it up. I mean, there's no magic to doing that. And now that this I had mentioned has the little teeth inside that grab a hold of this thing when you slide it in, I put grease, just a little tiny coating of grease on all this stuff to make sure that any O-rings or whatever would slide on and not try to roll and create a leak. So that's something that caution you might take, I guess. And then when I put this back underneath, I'm going to just use a floor jack to raise it up in place, and to put the 2 straps in, make the electrical connections here, the filler tube up to the filler on the side of the truck, the vent hose for the side of the truck. Then there's the 2 connections here. This is the gas line that goes to the engine, and this is a vent tube that goes to the canister, which sits right in here in front of the truck. So that's pretty much it. I'll fill you in. Whoops! I fill you in later. I had one of my friends who's not at all mechanically inclined wanted to help in the worst way, so he was over here. Anyway, it was kind of challenging to just bite my tongue, but it's all good. I appreciate the help. All right. In the rear of the truck, where where the bolt had broken loose from the clip, I was lucky enough to get the there's actually a rust hole on the back side of this cross member that I could get through with a wrench, and I took out the with a pair of vice grips where I'd cut off the bolt head. I could get on a 15mm wrench in through this hole here, and then when I went to put the tank back in, it was a bitch too, let me tell you, to get the strap up, get the tank up into its proper location, get the strap up into its location. I had another bolt from another project I put up through there, and I went in through this hole and I put the bolt on top. So there's a big washer and a bolt, or a nut rather, on top of the bolt that went up through here to hold this rear clamp strap for the tank in place. And that was really the only hard thing. And then I put all the other stuff back together. The aftermarket fuel line hooked up, the tank, I put the gas back in the tank that I'd siphoned out, and the thing immediately primed, and the engine is running now. And that's the end of this project, thank goodness. I got all the stuff out here still. I'm putting it all away. But anyway, I hope that some of the tips that I gave people are helpful. And if they did, you know, stop by, leave a comment, subscribe, and give me a like. Okay, and that is it. Peace, love, out.